just to give you guys a brief overview of these weather patterns. Again, this is warm air being lofted north and then a cold front directly parallel to that. And behind that system, we should see snow begin to increase in parts of western Nebraska and to South Dakota. And it should become lighter further away from the low. And again, we're mainly concerned about, again, the flooding issues. Again, this is an initial line of storms that continues to lift to the east, to the north-northeast. And then behind that on Tuesday, or sometime Tuesday early morning, we're watching an area low pressure that will bring additional rain into the area. And that will potentially lead to some flooding concerns as, again, we continue to watch the chance for training thunderstorms and another couple of inches of rain possible with that. And again, that should continue to impact parts of the plains and into the upper Midwest states. And again, that warmer air will lift north, and then we'll be watching, that cold front. We'll be watching for drier air on the back side of that rain, and then potentially cooler air behind it. So obviously we've had quite a wet start to this fall. Obviously this is a considerably wet fall so far. And also another programming note, that's Hurricane Michael. And again, and then we'll go to a longer range model just to take a look at what can be expected here. And then late this week, we'll be watching for high pressure. That will potentially filter into the region, potentially bringing some cooler temps and also much drier conditions. Dew points are in the 30s. That is where we want to be during the fall. Dew points in the 30s. If we're in the 70s, that is quite oppressive. And that's definitely leading to that heavy rain potential in these thunderstorms. So again, good news is drier air will filter in, and much more seasonable conditions should return by Saturday for much of us. However, again, we might be talking about some extra rain here in South Texas otherwise. But again, other than that, this weekend looks to be quite dry across the nation in general. But again, we'll be watching for additional rain, just areas just to the south and to the east of the nation. So again, beyond that, watch for additional weather systems to develop. And then some of these models, this low might bring in enough cool air. We might be talking about, again, mainly light rain, but again, we might be talking about possibly some of our first flurries, again, appearing on the back side of that. But again, that is, there's not enough information yet to determine that potential, of course. But again, we might be talking about our first flakes in northeast Iowa and parts of Wisconsin, perhaps even Galena, Illinois. It could happen by the middle of this month, but again, that is just a scenario according to this longer range model, but it is highly unlikely. It might happen, but who knows? We'll just have to see what happens. And again, this model does show again some light rain filtered in by cooler temps, and who knows? Depending on how cold it is at the low and upper levels and up towards the dendritic layer of the atmosphere, we might be talking about, who knows, snow. We'll just have to cross our fingers and hope that everyone get what they want, because obviously we've had quite a mild start to the fall. And then again, the good news is we're going to be watching for drier conditions nevertheless, and then we'll be watching for, again, later this month, we'll be watching for some extra rain. But again, no surprise seeing that perhaps some gusty winds potentially later this month, according to this model. But again, this is just a model scenario, not a forecast. Again, putting together a forecast would be embedding all the models. But now let's talk about Hurricane Michael now. We'll see what we got here. All right, so again, we're currently at 75 miles an hour. I want to see the latest advisory from the National Hurricane Center just to take a look at things once again here as we continue to discuss some of the impacts with Hurricane Michael. Looks like we're still a Category 1. I don't know if that's knots or miles an hour. Let's look at the public advisory here. All right, so we're 60 miles north-northwest of the western tip of Cuba. Maximum sustained winds are now 85 miles an hour, so that is definitely considerably hurricane force, and that is significantly low pressure. Again, gusty winds will be major potential, and then as we go about the next several days, this additional strengthening is likely, and we'll be talking about additional rain coming in. Yeah, major strengthening potential here, and depending on all right, look, I want to see surface winds with this because there is a potential we might be talking about. Again, some forecasters have said like Category 2, and yeah, this model does show some embedded Category 3 winds. So again, this might be a potentially significant event here, and again, we're watching for landfall according to this model. Again, nevertheless, we should see, again, parts of Alabama, Florida, the panhandle of Florida should be significantly impacted. And again, we might be talking about Category 3 winds just before landfall. Again, that is just what the model scenarios are. We'll see what some other models have to say here. Again, this model is just a greater depiction of the HWRF. We should mention here that we should see landfall potentially at 7 a.m. shortly after that on Wednesday. So again, we're looking at Wednesday morning. That is when the storm should make landfall according to this model. And now we're looking at the GFS model. And again, this model does show that will be at least a minimal hurricane. But again, some scenarios do show that we could see Category 2 or Category 3 winds. It depends on some of these models, but again, the HWRF does show that we might see Category 2, possibly even as high as Category 3 winds embedded in with this. But again, this is very low pressure, 942 millibar low. And again, it would be no surprise to see significant strengthening, as I discussed earlier. Again, expect landfall sometime Wednesday morning. And let's take a look at the HMON model, see what this scenario has. Now, this does show greater coverage of the Category 3 winds. So again, we're definitely going to be talking about rough surf, and these winds will definitely lead to some considerable storm surge effects here. We got storm surge warnings in effect for parts of the panhandle here. We'll take a look at the Mobile office here just to see what we got here. Again, storm surge warnings in areas in a dark purple. Okay, so again, expect landfall somewhere in that zone where we got hurricane warnings. And again, these warnings do extend tropical storm warnings and hurricane warnings in east Alabama and southwest Georgia and much of the panhandle. Also, we got a tropical storm warning for parts of the Mobile area as well. So again, let's take a look at the storm surge risk. We're looking at possibly ability of danger of life-threatening inundation from storm surge somewhere within the specified area within the next 48 hours. So, all right, we will see high rip current risk. So get out of the beaches. There's no need to go to the beach, especially when you're getting ready for a hurricane. And listen for possible evacuation orders, because with significant storm surge potentially, and I have to see the feet depiction here. All right, that's an old hurricane watch has now been upgraded to a warning. So let's take a look at the hurricane local statement here. All right, storm surge, that's what I'm concerned about. Life-threatening storm surge and historic storm surge. So again, this might be at historic proportions we might be talking about. 8 to 12 feet above ground. So again, through early Thursday morning, we can expect significant storm surge with this. So again, that is when you need to get away from the coast. So get away from the coast, especially if you're closer to the landfall site. So if you're Pensacola, areas towards Santa Rosa Beach, Destin, Seagrove, Fort Walton Beach, pretty populated zones here. You gotta listen for possible evacuation orders, and I'm pretty sure I will not doubt that we will see the local governments take action and place some areas under mandatory evacuation. So that means either way, just to be on the safe side, you want to get as far away from the coast as possible to protect yourself. Again, move to higher ground. Again, we might still be seeing that construction along Highway 98 in the Destin area, 331 Choctaw Bridge. So again, that is why things might be significantly impacted. Oh, that's right. The Choctawhatchee Bay Bridge was just finished last year. So either way, we might see some traffic issues. So again, that is why you need to leave now, because especially if you're near the coast, because we might be talking about a very patient prerequisites traffic with this. So again, don't wait until the last minute. Get out now. Collect all the supplies you need. This is just something I'll do. And again, we might be talking about higher airfare because of people having higher demands for the airplanes. So again, whatever you need to do, be patient, remain calm. Again, just know that you're going to make it out of here alive. We got people out here helping you. Again, this is going to be a significant hurricane, potentially a Category 1, like at least a minimal hurricane according to models. But the HREF and the HMON, again, the most, again, a majority of people are, and the majority of these models do show potential strengthening to Cat 2 or possibly even Category 3. So again, this is why you need to get ready to listen to possible evacuation orders, or just even before you have evacuation orders. If you live right along the coast, you should just get out now. Again, just move to higher ground, and if you live in a condo or something, even if you live on like the 4th floor, again, you just don't want to just sit up there and take shelter, because you might get stranded up there, and emergency responders could have trouble reaching you. You just want to get to safety. So further inland, I would say past Andalusia, past Op, probably safe bet would be Laverne up towards, or you could just go to Birmingham, or just head up to Music City. You know, you'll have a lot of fun just hanging out up there, probably, or just find family or friends to hang out with, or just find temporal shelter, just something that you could easily afford. Just make sure that you're making good decisions, listening to possible evacuation orders nonetheless. Just get away from the coast. That is my advice to you, because we're talking about potentially historic storm surge. So again, it would be, I'm not going to doubt that we'll be seeing some possible evacuation orders with this. So again, we will continue to monitor the status of Hurricane Michael. But this will potentially become a major hurricane. So we will keep our eyes here on this, and we will be back for additional streams as we head throughout the afternoon. And looks like we have another severe thunderstorm warning for Pecos and Reeves counties in Texas. We will continue to keep an eye again on these storms, and have a good evening.